And good day, Algebra. We are covering super duper power objective 52 today. Factoring trinomials, so kind of the same thing as PO51, but tell me what's different. PO51 said factoring trinomials in x squared plus bx plus c form, and he had several examples of what x squared plus bx plus c is. But now super duper PO52 says ax squared plus bx plus c. You've got some examples of what trinomials such as that look like, and more space to work, which should tell you something. Okay, what's different about PO51 and PO52? Colin.
The first term has a coefficient.
Yes, our x squared term has a coefficient. In PO51, every equation started with x squared, right? Just x squared. Your coefficient was 1. It's like it wasn't even there. In PO52, we've got a number before it, which changes things. Okay, because what it does is that coefficient before, it affects that inside and outside simplification after you multiply. Okay, so we have a 7-step process to factor a trinomial with a coefficient to x squared. So those of you that have gotten by without showing work, you have to now. You can find shortcuts eventually when you get comfortable with the process, but even I still need to write stuff down when I'm doing these just because it's so easy to get lost with things. Okay? Well, let's take it step by step. 12x squared minus 38x plus 20 equals 0. Now, it's important to remember that this standard form of a parabola, I think we mentioned before that these equations, ultimately, we're going to graph them as parabolas. They're in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? Where your a term is your coefficient to x squared, your b term is your coefficient to x, and your c term is your constant. So in here, when you see things like a and c and b and everything like that, what we're referring to, a is the coefficient to x squared, our a would be 12, right? B is the coefficient to x, our b term is negative 38, and our c term is 20. So just when you hear a, b, and c, that's what we're referring to there. All right, let's go. Step number 1, all the way back to CO44. This is why we talked about CO44, greatest common factor. Step 1 is factor out the GCF of the trinomial. Okay? What is the greatest common factor of 12x squared, negative 38x, and 20? Leo. It is just 2. So we're going to rewrite this trinomial with that 2 factored out. And when we say factor out, we really mean like divide out of. If we factor a 2 out of 12x squared, what are we left with? 6x squared. If we factor a 2 out of negative 38x, what are we left with? Negative 19x. And if we factor a 2 out of 20, what are we left with? 10. Okay? And you can really easily check your answer to make sure that you're doing this correctly by redistributing that 2 into the parentheses and seeing if you get the original expression, right? If you distribute the 2 back in, 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times negative 19, negative 38, 2 times 10, 20. All right, so step 1, factor out the GCF. Now step 2 is we're going to multiply the a and the c term, okay? Now remember, our a term is the 6, and our c term is that 10. The a term coefficient x squared, the c term is the constant. So 8 times c, or 6 times 10, is going to equal 60. And now step 3 should look very familiar. This is exactly what you did in PO51 with the 2 numbers that multiply, those same 2 numbers that add. The difference is we didn't just take the 10 for 2 numbers that multiply to make 10. We multiply a and c together because that 60 is what we're trying to get to with our factors. Okay? So we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to make 60, which is the product of a and c, not just c by itself. And those same 2 numbers will add to equal negative 19. Okay? So the question was asked earlier, do we start with the multiplication or the addition? Definitely start with the multiplication. 60's got a lot of options, right? We've got 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 10, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, not 3 and 10, 3 and 20, okay? What's the combo here? Which of those is going to get us to negative 19? Paisley.
4 and 15.
Winner. 4 and 15 is the only factor pair that gets us to both positive 60 and negative 19. Now the question is how? Negatives, okay? Negative 4 times negative 15 is positive 60. Negative 4 plus negative 15 is negative 19. Huh? Are we done? We're on step 3, man. We're halfway through. Right?
We got 2 days to do this.
Right?
Yes.
So, and now here's where we step 4 is where we start to set our equations up. Okay? This is the format that we're using here. GCF and then our 2 sets of parentheses. So we can't forget about that 2 that we pulled out in step 1. That still comes back. It's the coefficient to our 2 sets of parentheses here. And whereas in PO51, once you got these numbers, it didn't matter which set of parentheses you put the numbers in because both of them start with an X. In PO52, it does matter where those numbers go. But we make it a little bit easier on ourselves. We cheat just a little bit by putting the same term, that AX term, in both sets. Okay? We're going to start by putting that 6X that we got from back up here. I'll underline it so you can kind of see where it came from there. That's 6X. Okay? That's going to start both sets of our parentheses. Because if we start the parentheses the same, it's not going to matter which one gets our negative 4 and our negative 15. Like I said, we're cheating a little bit. We're going to fix it later on. Okay? But starting them the same means we can put our negative 4 and our negative 15 in either one. Okay? And you can see this is cheating because if we were to crab claw foil box this, what would we get from 6x times 6x? 36x squared. Is that what we had here? No, right? So this isn't the correct answer, but it allows us to eliminate the guesswork in which set of parentheses should my negative 4 and my negative 15 go in. Okay? Step 5 is where we fix it. Step 5 is where we look at both sets of our parentheses and say, what can I simplify them by? What can I take out of 6x and 4? Finn?
2.
Divide by 2. Okay? And that's going to make this 3x minus 2. And then what can I take out of my second set, Colin? 3. I can divide by 3. And that's going to give me 6x divided by 3 is 2x. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. And here's where we can kind of check ourselves to make sure that we're doing this correctly. This is not a coincidence. Take a look. Those 2 numbers that we divided by, 2 and 3, what are those numbers multiplied to be? 6, which is the extra number we put in there, right? Oh, I love when it all works out pretty. And now, if we were to foil crab claw box this, 3x times 2x is what? 6x squared. Okay? So we take the guesswork out of it by cheating a little bit, but then we fix it. So it's all okay. Okay? It's all okay. Right? Yes, Finn.
And the negative 2 and the negative 5 multiplied to be 10.
Yes, the negative 2 and the negative 5 multiplied to be 10. And then the inside outside, negative 4 here, negative 15 here, negative 4 and negative 15 combine to give us negative 19. Then that 2 out in front brings us back to the original anyway. Okay? Maddie, this would be our correct answer. Okay? That math, I don't know if you know this. Over spring break, I went to a math collaboration thing at Tino Grace. We kind of talked about different math related. Super boring for you, super interesting for me. But one of the things that they talked about was, because factoring is such a huge thing, like I said, super duper, right? And so the question about like, how do high schools want this answer? Because once we get to this point, there's a couple of the things that we can do. Okay, this answer is perfectly acceptable. If you want to stop here and skip step 6, you can do it. Okay. For extra credits, if you want to go a little bit further, you can. Okay. If we have our 3x minus 2 and our 2x minus 5, folks, step 6 says distribute the GCF in the first set of parentheses. You could distribute this 2 into your first set, and only your first set, to give you 6x minus 4 and 2x minus 5. And if you FOIL crab claw box this, you'll see 6x times 2x, 12x squared, negative 4, negative 5, positive 20, negative 8, negative 30, negative 38x. Okay, distributing that 2 back in gives you just the 2 sets of parentheses. Save your questions for just a second here. You can also instead of distributing that 2 into your first set, you could distribute it into your second set. And that's going to give you 3x minus 2 and 4x minus 10, which if you FOIL crab claw box that, you'll see you get the original. Okay? This is an example, because remember what we're doing here, right? Folks, we are finding factors of the original expression. Just like a number can have multiple factors, 60 had 6 different pairs of factors. This trinomial has 3 different factor pairs. All 3 of these answers are correct. You can stop without distributing, and that's cool. That's good. If you distribute the GCF into either the first set or the second set, not both. First or second, and that will give you 2 additional factor pairs. If you do that on the test, I will give you extra credit.
How much?
Okay? 1,000,000 points. No, I don't know. No, it won't be 1,000,000. Don't think that. Yes, Andrea.
It's on recording.
So it honestly doesn't matter like if you put you can put the 4 in either one, right? Like,
The 4.
Yeah, you put it doesn't matter which factor goes in which frame.
Are you talking about the negative 4 and the negative 15?
Yeah.
Yes, and it only doesn't matter because we cheated a little bit and we started each set of parentheses the same. Okay? But we fixed it in step 5. Okay? Oscar.
Because in step 6 you multiplied it by 2 and you got the answer, couldn't you just take the the starting equation and divide that by 2?
That's what we did. That's how we got the 2 as a GCF to start with.
Wouldn't that just be
No, our answer is if we divide the original trinomial by 2, we still end up with a trinomial, right? We want 2 binomials. That it's kind of like if I gave you, give me the factors of 42, or say that give me the prime factors of 42, and you divided by 2 and said 2 times 21. Well, it's not the prime factors, right? You can take that 21 down further. That's kind of what we're doing here. We divided this by 2, but then we factored that trinomial to get the 2 binomials that make that. Okay? Will?
When will that test be?
I don't know. We'll see how things progress. Tristan?
Are you gonna make us do all 3?
Not for tomorrow, no. I don't know. Okay. Let's do another one together. Pick either the first or the second at the bottom of this page. Raise your hand for the first one. Raise your hand for the second one. Second one is the winner. Okay. So 15x plus x minus 2. Our first step is to factor out that greatest common factor. What's the GCF of 15? 1. Remember that x is a coefficient of 1. 15, 1, and negative 2. There isn't one, right? So guess what? We don't have to do step 1. If there's no GCF to factor out, there's no GCF to factor out. Okay? GCF stands for greatest common factor.
In what one? We did this last.
We're doing this one here. Okay? The GCF of 15, 1, and negative 2, there isn't one. We're doing this one here. So we go to step 2, which is multiply our A and C together. The product of A and C equals what? Here's our A, here's our C, negative 30. Okay? That's an important step. Don't forget about that. Because that's what sets up step 3, which is where the magic happens. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to make negative 30, the product of A and C, and those same two numbers that multiply to make our middle term, which is 1. Don't forget, if there's no coefficient written, it means it's a 1, not a 0, not x, 1. Okay? So, just like before, we're going to start by looking at factors of 30. 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Which of those gets us to 1? 5 and 6. How do we get to 1 from 5 and 6? Andrea? Positive 6, negative 5. 6 times 5 is negative 6 times negative 5. Negative 30. 6 plus negative 5 is positive 1. Okay? Now, step 4, we start to place this. There is no GCF to put out in front, so we just have our two sets of parentheses here. And how do we cheat here a little bit? What are we going to do so that we don't have to decide which one gets the 6, which one gets the negative 5? Taking the guesswork out of it. Anything? Not yet. That's how we fix the cheat. First we cheat, then we apologize for it, and we fix it, then we move on.
Would it be 15?
Yes. We're going to start each set of parentheses with our A term, which is that 15x.
Why isn't it squared?
Because the squared is what we get when we FOIL crab claw box this. Right? Our goal is to write the two binomials that multiply to make the trinomial, and that squared term comes from old man FOIL, crab claw, whatever method you want to use, multiplying our x term by our x. So in our parentheses, it's not squared yet. It only becomes squared if we multiply these binomials together. Okay? And then we put positive 6 in one of them, negative 5 in the other. And how do we rectify our cheating behavior? Nathan? Simplify. Okay? What can we take out of 15 and 6? What can we divide by? Oscar? 3. Divided by 3. Divided by 3. That gives us 5x plus 2. What can we simplify? What can we take out of 15 and negative 5? 5. Divided by 5. Divided by 5. And we get 3x minus 1. What tells me that I've done this correctly, that I've simplified it correctly, that I did it all? What's our kind of checkpoint?
Then the 3 and 5 multiplied to be the 15.
The 3 and 5 multiply to equal the 15, the extra 15 that I put in there. Okay? Essentially, by putting 15 in there twice, we're putting an extra 15 into the equation, which means we have to take that 15 out again. And how we do that comes through the simplifying. Dividing by 3 and dividing by 5 is ultimately the same as dividing by 15 in a weird mathy sense. Okay? And so 5x plus 2, 3x minus 1 is our answer. We FOIL, we crab claw, we box. 5x times 3x is 15x squared. 2 times -1 is -2. 6x and -5x combined to give us positive 1x. Everything checks out. Isn't this fun?
No. I've seen it. I've had more on that.
Who's having a super duper time? All right, some of us. Very good. Question. Go ahead. Folks. Shh. Yes.
So oh wait, never mind.
Awesome. Happy to help. Tristan. Your homework is I would like you to do the 6x squared plus 16x minus 6. Okay? And then I would like you, can I erase this work, by the way? Any other questions on this? Paisley, do you have a question on this work?
I have a question on 6x.
Okay. Okay. So the 6x squared plus 16x minus 6, and then the first two on the second page. Okay? So only 3 of them for homework. The one we didn't do on the first page, and the first 2 on the second page. Okay? Now, neither of the 2 on the second page have a greatest common factor. So don't be looking for one. They don't have them. You can jump straight to step 2. But this one does have a GCF that you'll have to factor out. So you get a little bit of practice with both types there. Paisley, what's your question on the 6x squared one? Okay. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, compliments. I'm sure there are many. Congratulations or criticisms on this. Nathan?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Nathan. Anybody else? Andrea?
For the last step, can just x be the answer? Wait a minute.
Happy to help us all. All right, Nick.
Aren't you ever saying, do you have any complaints?
I do. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, compliments, congratulations, or criticisms. Paisley.
Which ones are we doing on the back page?
First 2. Top 2. Don't X the other ones out. We'll do those later on. But only the first 2 on the back page and this other one on the front page for homework tomorrow. If you want to roll ahead, you can. We'll be spending class time to do the others though, so it won't be anything to do during class tomorrow. But you do you. You do you. All right, that's how math.
Don't forget to subscribe.